Hello, and welcome back to another Phil's Monday movie review. As always, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you're here. And my recommendation for this week is Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, or simply put, Raiders of the Lost Ark. If you know, you know. But in case you didn't know, there is a new Indiana Jones movie on the way into theaters. I think it's dropping this June, and I thought it would be a good idea to revisit these movies in anticipation for the newest one. Personally, I'm excited for the new Indiana Jones flick. Cautiously excited, I should say, because I just don't trust that mouse. Yeah. But anyways, I am personally excited for The Dial of Destiny, and it makes me very happy to see that Harrison Ford is coming back to this iconic role one more time, possibly the final time, but maybe someday I'll talk about The Dial of Destiny on here, on this channel, but today is not that day. Because today, we're talking about the very first film of the Indiana Jones franchise, and it's the very first movie that introduced us to this very cool and very awesome character. We are here, of course, to talk about Raiders of the Lost Ark. And with all that being said, let's get started. I don't know what I just did with that swift move, but yes, with all that being said, let's get started. Released in 1981 and directed by my boy Steven Spielberg, Raiders of the Lost Ark tells the story of archaeologist Indiana Jones and his search for the Lost Ark of the Covenant. Jones is on a dangerous mission to find the Ark before the Nazis do. Of course, no one really knows what kind of power the Ark has, but that is up to Indy to find out. It's a race against time as Indiana Jones retrieves the Ark before it falls into the wrong hands. This swashbuckling adventure has a story that's very easy to follow. I love this film for many reasons. The MacGuffins, the characters, the whimsical humor and adventure. For years, this film was always just known as Raiders of the Lost Ark. But it wasn't until 1999 when the title change happened in order to maintain the continuity with the other films. Because after Raiders of the Lost Ark, of course, came Temple of Doom, The Last Crusade, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But Last Crusade is actually my favorite one, and I can't wait to talk about that one someday. But anyways, I feel like Spielberg, when we're talking about the rest of the other films, I feel like Spielberg and the team produced a very grounded and grizzled film when it comes to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Raiders of the Lost Ark is actually pretty gnarly. This one shows dudes getting their heads blown off like if it was some kind of Cronenberg film. Dudes get shot in the head. Hell, even Indy takes a bullet too. Look, call me weird, but sometimes I like to see the hero get his ass kicked. I like to see the hero take a beating throughout the film. When the protagonist gets a taste of death, the stakes are raised up just a little higher. Hey, modern action films, let's get the hero get his ass kicked sometimes throughout the movie, yeah? We all know they're gonna win. We all know that the hero is going to win at the end of the movie, but how about we have them earn that W? Man, what can I possibly say about Raiders of the Lost Ark that hasn't already been said? This movie's level of iconography is beyond stellar. All I can do is talk about the level of impact that it has left on me and the level of appreciation that I have for this flick. In order to prepare for the next chapter, and hopefully this is the final chapter, I wanted to revisit this beloved character. I wanted to be reminded why I fell in love with these movies, this character, this experience one more time. I'm not just a fan of these films, I truly love them. I love Raiders of the Lost Ark, I love the Temple of Doom, and I especially love The Last Crusade. And you know what? I love this one too. There, I said it. Sue me. Raiders of the Lost Ark is a perfect example of how quintessentially entertaining movies can really be. It's 2 hours of spectacular action, amazing set pieces, sound mixing, sly humor, high spirit, and great adventure. When it comes to Raiders of the Lost Ark, I know that everything that there is to be said about this classic has been said. From Harrison Ford being perfectly casted as Indiana Jones, to the iconic set pieces and the action sequences, the humor, the supporting characters, and of course, Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg. My confirmed boy, Steven Spielberg. This dude and his buddy George put together a film that nobody expected to go hard as it did. Steven Spielberg had already directed 2 mega hits in Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. However, the studio told George Lucas that they didn't want Spielberg to direct because he was known for going over schedule and over budget. But Lucas told the studio that he refuses to work on this project without his boy Steven. What a good bro. And once Spielberg and Lucas got the green light, it was time to look for the guy that's going to be playing Indiana Jones. Finding the right actor to play Indiana Jones was no easy task. Originally, they wanted Tom Selleck, but because of scheduling conflicts, they went with Harrison Ford instead. Harrison freaking Ford.
Also, her mit Harrison Ford.
I wasn't around when this movie first dropped in theaters, but I really wish I was around to know what the vibe was when we all first saw this movie in theaters. Just seeing the dude Harrison on screen portraying this icon for the first time must have been quite the experience. This was the role Harrison was born to play. Look, I love Han Solo just as much as anyone does, but Indy is my favorite role Harrison Ford has ever taken on. The way he goes from being a badass archaeologist punching Nazis to a charming, nerdy college professor is absolutely astounding. It's so hard for me to picture anyone but Harrison Ford play this icon, and I'm so glad that no one else ever did. At least for now. There are so many reasons why I think Raiders of the Lost Ark deserves to stay in its place of iconic films in cinema history. If someone were to tell you that Raiders of the Lost Ark is overrated, then they are miserable and are trying really hard to be different. Raiders of the Lost Ark is stacked with so many great scenes that live rent-free in my mind. In fact, let's explore some of those scenes. Just within the first 10 minutes of Raiders of the Lost Ark, we are given possibly the greatest introduction to a character in cinema history. Just look at how we are exploring the jungle with this dude for several minutes, and we don't even see his face until after someone tried to assassinate him. Another scene that I absolutely love in Raiders of the Lost Ark has got to be this scene where Indy finds himself in a bit of a situation with a scary dude with a sword. The guy shows off his sword skills and taunts Indiana. We look at Indy as to how he's going to take out this bad guy. He pulls out his gun and shoots the guy dead, and the crowd goes wild. I fucking love that scene so much. Also, we have to talk about the boulder scene in the beginning. There are so many cinematic duos that share a chemistry with one another. For example, Mr. Freeze and Ice Puns, Vin Diesel and family, and in this case, Indiana Jones and the gigantic crushing boulder. When you ask someone about an iconic scene in an indie flick, there's a very good chance that someone will bring up the boulder scene. This scene is perfectly executed, and it's one of my favorite scenes in this film. Raiders of the Lost Ark is a film that I continuously revisit. Its charm finds its way to continue pulling me back in. Even though The Last Crusade is my favorite indie film of the franchise, I think Raiders has a brilliant way of illustrating a new wave of thrilling action with whimsical adventure and high stakes. Harrison Ford is perfect in this role, and Steven Spielberg delivered an unforgettable heroic adventure. And with all that being said, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, or Raiders of the Lost Ark if you're nasty, is absolutely 100% pure cinema. But that is it for Phil's Monday movie review, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Have you seen it? And if so, what are your thoughts on it? Also, which one is your favorite Indiana Jones film? I've already said The Last Crusade, but let's hear your thoughts. And as always, be sure to tune in next week where we talk about another movie. But until then, thanks for stopping by, take care, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.